What's up, guys? Barry Gaming here, back with some more Idle Heroes, and today we're going to be doing a little Tower of Oblivion, Tower of Dreams type stuff, but it really got me thinking today, what are the game modes we really want to see expansions on the most? Like, I'd love to hear your guys' comments just down below to see what you guys actually enjoy the most. Me, you guys know I've always loved Sealand from the beginning of days, which is why I still love making content and pushing Sealand as much as possible, even up to Sealand 35, which is pretty unobtainable by the average player. But there's a lot of other game modes that I feel like other players have kind of found their cap at, or I want to see certain new game modes, and one of them honestly is very much like Sealand, because again, it's one of the most enjoyable game modes in this entire game for me. But I want to see class Sealand beyond just a faction Sealand. So we're going to talk about a couple different things. We're going to talk about the limits that we're at right now as far as progression systems go. So hopefully you guys enjoy this one. Let's jump right into it. So I think that's kind of something I wanted to discuss today, was the fact that, like, and really it hit me when I'm doing things like depth 15, because let's be honest, we can jump in this game mode on an account like ours now and it's pretty much a joke. Like, we just use all the up heroes and just chuck in like one singular hero that's going to do a lot of damage at this point. Granted, there's a ton of power systems out there. We actually are getting that divine power gap too, because we're divine power level 2 here. We actually are doing more damage to all these old game modes too, and it's like none of them are a challenge anymore. And it's just how games work, because of course as time goes on there have to be more power systems, otherwise, well, people will essentially finish the game and then just move on to a new one. So you have to keep the players going, spending. What that does create is a gap between free to play and spenders though. That's pretty much every single game. But as you guys can see, just literally just using my Vulcan, I should be able to just crush every single one of these here. Just make sure they don't get their damage reduction here, and we can just get a ton of extra rewards. Take away their armor there. Come over to the fifth one here, crush this one out again. I don't really care. They're both offensive. It doesn't matter. They're not going to get to attack. And then the last one here, I guess we'll do something like this and then switch up our up hero into the front slot. And yeah, Doom Terminator Vulcan crushes everything. We are getting these nice little treasure train materials as well, which is cool. And we're getting some Cloud Island resources. Granted, not that much. Not much at all. But I don't know if I even care about seeing an expansion on the depths. We basically have already gotten that once. This originally started at depth 10, and now you can go up to 15. Although, as you guys can see, like, the sheer number of people who have beaten this is the entire leaderboard, and probably triple or quadruple that list. It's not something that's been absolutely crazy. It feels bad getting things like this in the game that really have no effect to like 99.98% of the player base. There's a couple people probably using it, some people probably using it by mistake. Hopefully they saw my video saying just stay away from it, don't even touch this game mode. But then there's other ones that I think they still do a really good job. I think Aspen Dungeon is still one of the most unique game modes out there. I just realized the eyes are not lined up with the gaps, and they're lined up with the bars. Maybe we won't see expansion in this. Granted, I mean, even on my one server, like, we have 7 people, finally got to Purgatory 200 for the longest time. It was only 2 or 3 of us, so I can understand why Purgatory going beyond that to higher levels beyond 200, it's probably something that's in the future. But I think what we're going to see in the future is enemies that have divine power. Now, you might be wondering why we care about that. Well, when you actually take a look at this divine power gap, what I was talking about doing Tower of Dreams, my hero has 2 stars in power. That means I'm actually doing 20% more damage and taking 15% less damage from all those old game modes, including Aspen Dungeon, Sealand, all these places, because they don't have divine power. This is only a negative when we're going up against the bosses, because right out of the gate, the bosses go up to like divine power 6, and it's absolutely disgustingly hard to actually defeat, especially when your gap ends up being like a 4, because you're at 2, they're at 4. You see what I'm talking about? There's that gap. Now, this basically is slowly going to trivialize old content. Even things like Sealand are going to become easier, because, well, again, the Sealand, the bosses and the enemies, they're just they're not they're not divine powered, and that's going to be something I think we're going to see in a ton of different game modes. But there's a whole new game mode I'm intrigued in, because honestly, again, I don't know about you guys, I'm not really a fan of Realms Gate. I just smash 140 constantly. Like, there's really, like, we just do the intelligent smash, it just instantly smashes everything for us. It is what it is. It's an AFK grind session. Now, I could see them adding more levels past Dominator. I think that might be one of the next game modes they do expand on, because I know a lot of people do enjoy striving and trying to get as far as they can when it comes to this. Next time, we're going to have to actually try to push and get to the leaderboard so we can get up there with Jesus and Soul and everything like that. But it is a nice generation of AFK resources, because not only do you have the extra gems that are going to be generated by people, and honestly, if there's more levels coming up, that's a lot more gems for people on your server. And then beyond that as well, there's going to be a whole nother tier, maybe even more of the Immortal Totem, more resources, more Stellar Shards. We could absolutely use that, even though we are generating them from the Void Campaign bosses. Again, we have to wait for more Void Campaign bosses. We are also waiting for Chapter 4 of the Hollow. I do know a lot of people are starting to struggle with it. Big Noah on my server finally able to finish it out. But I think the one thing I'd love to see, obviously, more Aspen Dungeon levels, or a new version game mode in Aspen Dungeon, something like that. Honestly, I'd love to see a better game put in here. But I think beyond all of that, what I would truly love to see is something different. Not just additional faction sea lands, but I want to see class sea lands. I think that would be something really unique. We have 5 of them here. We got Warrior, Mage, Ranger, Assassin, and Priest. Now, the Priest one would probably be pretty difficult to do. It'd almost require you to have a Vesa, I think, a Fairy Queen Vesa. But I do think it would be interesting adding class sea lands, because sometimes you have some classes that do certain things better than others, and that's maybe the only reason why they've been kind of reluctant to do that, mainly because there's only like one big damage dealer in Priest. An Assassin, I mean, even when we take a look at like Transcendence heroes right now, we've only got like one super good Assassin. I mean, G-Ster could probably do something, but when it comes to a Sealand place, you basically lose out on support heroes at that point, and I think that might be part of it. I really do. I think that might be part of it, because you lose out on like the Ignis, you lose out on Michelle's, you lose out on a lot of interesting strategies that you use for class or for faction Sealand that you wouldn't be able to use in the class Sealand. But again, I feel like if they had like a second dial here, I would just fall in love. And that's like the one big request I have. So I'd love to hear what you guys want to see. Number one, what type of game modes you'd love to see in the game in the future. And I'll forward this on to the community management team and development team. Hopefully they listen better than my review of the Soul Perfection from the Tap servers. That was a mess. And then let me know what new types of game modes or expansions on old type of game modes that you guys would be the most excited about. So hopefully you guys enjoy this one. Let me know what you guys think. See you guys next time.